Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Trash Talk Experience. This is your boy Abob. I'm here with my buddies Son and Trey. What's wrong, Trey?
Deja vu, bro.
Okay. Just get used to it by now. Anyway, we have a special guest in the building. I made this joke already. I don't want to make it again, but like, you have a big head, bro, and that hat is barely hiding it.
Just
what's
don't
wrong?
hide your head,
Hammy's
man.
in the building. Hammy, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good, bro. Yeah, what were we talking about? Because we're recording it again. Something malfunctioned.
First off, you forgot to introduce me, like the main stars of this show.
I did say it, Son and
No,
Trey.
I think he did, man.
Shit, alright, my bad.
Your attention span has gone off.
Okay, anyway, Hammy, you're here. Okay, so only Son has told me this, so I'm not sure if this is what you actually want. The Son said, oh, Hammy's really interested in coming on. By the way, you want me to call you Hammy or what?
Anything's good.
Okay.
I am Hammy.
Hammy wanted to come on and talk about addictions.
Yeah.
And I was like, are you sure? And he's like, yeah. So is
Well-
it true that you want to come on and talk about addictions?
Well, I mean, the preface of it was that he reached out. He said, do you want to come talk about
So,
crypto? And I was like, no, because I definitely am not the person to talk about that.
Yeah.
And then I was like, addiction would be a good topic if you wanted to chat.
Why addictions?
Because
Hammy's had some.
Why have you
devils
put
in
him
his
on
life.
spot? Like, he's got to justify.
No,
Yeah,
I just,
bro.
if he said like, oh,
I
I
think
wanna
we
talk
all
about
have
war, I
addictions,
would've
like,
said the
so
same.
that's
it's
the point.
just-
That's the point. Is that like, I think I've been listening to a lot of stuff recently about addiction. I listened to a podcast and started reading some stuff, and also Kendrick's new album. He talks about it as well. There's a lot of stuff going about, and then it was kind of me realizing that addictions can be a bit more like, they don't have to be as serious as you think they are. Like they're not like.
I thought it was
related to-
because, let's be honest, you've had a very rough start to the year. So I was like, maybe this guy's got addicted to something,
This year
and
has
he's like
not been
coping,
friendly.
and he wants to come on.
Facts.
Car crash was your fault. Think about it. Now, this is the logic behind this. If you were driving on a speed that is more than prescribed limit,
Yeah.
like more than 70,
Prescribed.
Yeah.
you would have gone past the
I
car
actually
that crashed into.
If I was speeding, I would have missed it.
You should have taken motorcycles,
Exactly.
bro. Because if I was there, I wouldn't be
If
there.
I was in a motorcycle, I 100% would have died. My car saved
you
me.
wouldn't be there because you just straight up like
You wouldn't be there.
Sometimes you don't follow the lines painted on the road. It's just paint, bro.
That's not the point. The guy ran into me side on.
Yeah, but he was following the painted lines. That's the issue.
No, you're out of your mind.
Anyway, you survived.
I'm survived.
Yeah.
I'm survived.
Thankfully.
I have survived.
Yeah. And then something else happened. I don't want to go into too much detail. Like, you had a rough start to the year.
It's alright.
So
I'm here now.
are you looking up like all these addiction things because just for the fun of it, or you were bored in your recovery that you just like started looking to podcasts?
He had a bit
and
of
stuff?
that green whistle. He wants some more.
That's it, baby. That's it. Yeah. No, I'm not, it's a bit of everything. Like I've
You're not addicted to anything.
No, I
what
actually
I'm-
am. I which is what I realized. It's obviously a self-diagnosed addiction, and I will talk about it a bit later on. But I would 100% say I'm addicted to a fair few
Well,
things.
let's not wait. Talk about what are you
Okay.
addicted.
I think the first and foremost one is content, like online content. And that comes in the form of, for a lot of people, might come through like Instagram or Twitter or whatever. For me, it comes through a very, very heavy dosage of YouTube.
So you're constantly just on YouTube, Instagram,
Constantly.
scrolling through social media, your phone.
Yeah. So I started that kind of like relationship with YouTube, I want to say, in high school.
Yeah.
And I started watching just random stuff, and it was really cool. Like, it'd be just fun stuff. But then it started like, because YouTube has a really good algorithm where it shows you random different recommendations, but also things that might not necessarily be relevant to the video you just watched.
Yeah.
And then I started broadening my interest because of YouTube. And like one of the things that like I really, really love doing right now is cooking. I love cooking. I love trying new things, making new things and everything. And I can 100% attest that to the fact that I watch so many things on YouTube
Then
because
why are
of
you
it.
so shit at cooking?
Yeah. Cap, I beat you in a cooking contest.
Nah,
Let's bring
son,
that
Who
up.
was who were the judges?
Smash you.
Let's
If
bring that
Son
up.
was the judge, I don't
Whoa,
trust that.
No, no, no.
Valid, not valid.
We had biased judges.
We had like 4 years ago at my place.
More
we
than
decided
4
to
years
cook.
ago. It was like 6
Yeah,
years
whatever.
ago.
We decided to cook, and we were like, all right, I'll make something and he'll make something. I made
this
pasta from
amazing
scratch.
Michelin 5-star dish, bro. I'm telling you.
It's Michelin 5-star.
Michelin?
I think it's 3-star max, isn't it?
I don't know.
My dish was 5-star,
Sure.
bro.
Yeah, that's how good he is. No, it was actually shit. I made pasta from scratch. He
So
made
2 weeks ago, Trey, one of my colleagues, one of my colleagues gave Trey a recipe to follow through.
She was on the podcast.
She was on the podcast too, Siobhan. And Trey just, like, when someone gives you a recipe, say, I'm going to make it, and then it just, conversation dies. But Trey ended up following through.
Yeah.
I'm a man of my word.
And
But
how
that
did it
was
go?
a vegan, and you've never made vegan food, so like it was.
It was vegetarian. It
Oh,
wasn't
Vegetarian. But it was complete nonsense.
Was it actually?
It was terrible.
But was
bro.
that the recipe or was that
Whoa. Everyone else in the household except Son liked it and thought it was really good. The only reason Son didn't like it is because it's vegetarian.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, but I
you
think-
also have like a massive thing against.
Like, I'm honest with
vegetarianism.
food.
No,
man.
no,
If
no.
it's terrible,
It's because
terrible.
vegetarianism is closely associated with Indians. So like he thinks he'll turn Indian. That's what his thing is.
What's wrong with you, man?
Anyway, we're getting off track. Anyway, so you said all these things that you're addicted to, like social media content,
Yeah.
but it's only an addiction if it's having a negative effect on you. So you think
Yeah.
it's having a negative effect?
No,
Yeah.
man. Like addiction's addiction. So what do you mean? Like,
No,
I
but
think
like-
the dictionary definition originally was it had to be substance abuse, and then they started to change it.
It's
that
just
it
like
has-
a compulsive or like continued use of a substance,
Yeah.
or like or like a.
are we Oxford now? So we.
No, like,
we are, bro. We're
I
big-
just
Bro,
read.
if
Or
you're-
if a behavior that you have, like if you constantly do it and it leads to negative effects, that's what an addiction is.
Yeah,
So that's
That-
what I'm
I guess
asking.
that's also the easiest way to kind of notice it, is that if it has negative effects, then that's where you notice it. But the thing is, though, I kind of agree with Sun here, is that a lot of the time, especially now, they're starting to realize addictions don't necessarily have to have those outward negative effects. I listen to a podcast, and pretty much where I've got all of my like
Knowledge.
the new knowledge that I have about this from the Armchair Expert. Dak Shepard's a really big podcast. Like he interviews celebrities and like
I
other
watched 5
professionals.
minutes of that one.
It was actually really good. He interviewed Anna Lemke, and she's a psychologist about like addiction she's a doctor about addiction in Stanford. And she found out about addiction through her own struggles with it. And she was like, her addiction was actually through erotic novels.
Twilight.
Mm.
Huh?
Twilight.
Dead
Yeah,
ass.
I think I might have the same
that
one.
was the first one she read, and that she said was her gateway drug for it. So she read Twilight, she got really into it, then she started reading all these other
Twilight
erotic novels.
erotica.
No, it's not.
It
But
was-
it's like
what
it
he's-
kind of gets you into
It's
it.
the marijuana.
I think
Yeah.
she read that, then she read 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah.
Then it kind of kept going into.
You know how
more
they say
erotic,
marijuana is a gateway drug. Like if you start
Yeah.
that, then you're gonna go far west. Yeah,
which is
yeah.
cap. But
Twilight
like,
was that for middle-aged women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Is it
so
the-
she was 40 years old, and then she was talking about how that like she got genuinely really addicted to it. The thing is, though, all of us outward looking in, if you see someone go out and spend hours reading and spending time with themselves, we'd all be like, oh, they're really, really intelligent, or they're like, they know a lot, or they're doing really well for themselves. Whereas she inherently knew it was damaging her relationships. She was having a more than like physical, like she was having sexual relationship with these books and stuff like that. So like she was genuinely into this, and so she was like,
Like,
this
what do
is-
you mean sexual relationship?
Well, she says in the podcast, so she's like, I would go off and read it, and then she would.
Because I've seen this video of this guy having a
Would you
sexual
use, like,
relationship
the
with his car,
pages?
but it was actually physical.
With
So-
a what?
With his car. I
Oh
think
my
it's on YouTube.
No, okay.
Have you guys seen that one?
No,
No. So some.
I can imagine what he was doing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it's a mental condition where people are attracted to physical objects.
Yeah.
This guy was attracted to his car, and it was physical too.
Was it the gear lever or the
Is
exhaust
this the one
pipe?
where he
Exhaust fan.
kiss- is this the
Okay.
one where he
Yes,
kisses?
yeah.
He's like, it's like a red car, and he just
Yeah,
makes
exactly.
out with the front of the car.
Yeah.
Oh, I've seen this video. It's so
like,
weird.
Is it the same situation with this?
No,
Oh,
no. When I say physical relationship, I say that
Well, she
would-
reads it and she gets like aroused
she
by
would,
what
she
she's
would
reading. Yeah.
act on herself physically,
Yeah.
right? And she said that it would be like
Well, we're not
late
that
at
PG,
night.
you can say
Human-
these words.
human
she would
nature,
masturbate.
bro.
Yeah. And then like, but she would say, she'd be like, I could be dead tired, like her eyes were screaming to sleep, and she'd still go off and read these books because she's like, it was like that addiction to it.
Yeah.
And that for me is like a huge part of what Sun said, is that it doesn't have to be this outwardly negative thing.
And what is negative too? Either like it could be dopamine detox. Like dopamine, like we can't see that physically.
yeah.
But that is a addiction too.
Yeah.
Well, she goes through that. She starts talking about
Well,
the
that's
actual
the cause
dopamine.
of addiction. That's the neurophysiological cause of addiction.
It's still like whatever
Relax.
action.
It's actually big time.
The action she was doing was reading, but it still led to a negative consequence where it was affecting her life.
Bro, I think she's just a well-read, intelligent, thoughtful individual.
Yeah.
Okay.
But like,
Fair
but
enough.
the negativity is the debatable part, because that's what I say. Like, if you go out, say like you have less of a relationship with your family because of reading, but you end up reading more, you could say that that's both a positive and a negative, right? Depends on who
Depends
you
what
are
you're
and what you
reading,
want.
though.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
Depends
no,
what
but-
you're reading though.
Well, I mean, sometimes like reading's good, right? Like if you
No, but like if you're reading absolute trash, like what's the point?
No,
But
but
then
say
trash
that's-
is subjective,
say
like
that-
this
yeah.
podcast.
What?
Trash
Okay.
is subjective.
Nah.
But
It's not
say,
subjective,
like,
like,
say
it's
you're
kinda
reading
left him
something that's like
speechless
actually
with this
what we
one,
would
right?
consider
Exactly,
like not
bro.
trash, something that's really good.
What
but you
what
still
if she's
like
reading Mein Kampf?
That's not trash.
Bro, it's written by Hitler, bro.
what? Horse.
Yeah. What if she's reading satanic books or whatever? Like,
Yeah, no.
yeah,
Like,
like,
that's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
Like on the content of what she's reading. I'm saying more so like the idea of her reading and being away from everyone else is the addiction, regardless of what she's reading.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it doesn't have to be a negative
So
thing.
yours was social media addiction.
Mainly, look, it is like
YouTube.
I'd probably classify it all as social media because I still like would scroll Insta and Facebook a lot.
What were
but
the
it's
negative
mainly-
consequences for you? Like, were you getting like depressed?
Are you talking from a therapist point of view, or are you just like it
I'm
feels
just
like
asking
interrogation?
questions, bro. You
Yeah, I know.
just sit quiet for like 30 minutes and not say anything. Someone has to
I'd
make
rather speak.
conversation.
See, so there's a thing called silence is language of chords.
Yeah.
And I don't want to speak nonsense all the time, like Teletubbies, like keep going back and
Like
forth.
Teletubbies.
Yeah. But the point is,
You should be more silent every now and then.
carry on with interrogation.
Yeah.
No.
It actually does feel like an
Yeah,
interrogation.
it
Go on,
does.
go on.
No, no, you decided to come on. This is what a podcast is.
I can make you
Anyway.
feel more
Yeah.
comfortable.
Yeah. So what were the negative effects for you? Was it like you were feeling depressed by like constantly scoring, seeing other people live a happy life while you're having COVID, being in an accident? What was it?
Yeah, I mean, look, that probably happens on Insta where you get to see your mates do stuff, and like you'll see that on Instagram where people only show the best parts of their life and make it like a really glorified version. So you do get that, like you get a really deep sense.
Does it
of,
make
like,
you jealous
FOMO.
ever?
I get that.
Because
Yeah,
sometimes I read stories of my of friends playing basketball, and I'm like, shit, man.
why
Yeah.
am I not there?
Like,
Yeah.
why am I not that good at basketball?
Oh right, yeah, fair,
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, I mean, like for me, it's a bit of everything. It's a bit of Instagram and stuff like that, but I think mainly it's with the YouTube was the main thing where I would spend hours and hours. Like I still remember high school. I reckon I did pretty well academically and I was pretty happy with it. When I got to uni, I didn't like put that extra step of like I need to start studying a lot more, especially early days of uni. So then YouTube fully took like reins of me. I'd go to like Macquarie Uni, I'd study for the whole day, and that study would end up being like 80-90% of my time would just be
But
watching
sometimes
random
it's
stuff.
genuinely so easy to fall in a rabbit hole. I've done it on Reddit so many times. You fall into this rabbit hole of like some random shit,
Yeah,
and you're just like on it for the next 2 hours. And it's always when you have to study or something.
100%.
Always when you have to study or something. When you're supposed to be productive. You fall into
For,
this random
for someone
rabbit
like
hole.
us that has finished uni, doesn't have that kind of time frame situation going on, is it still a bad thing? I think it is personally.
I think it is.
That's it. Like,
Yeah. I think there are other things that I want to do with my life. There are other things that like I know my productivity has taken a hit. I know that like there's a lot of things in terms of relationships that I want to build and activities that I want to do.
do you reckon productivity is a addiction too? Because have you guys followed Ali Abdal?
Yes.
Have you?
Productivity in terms of like if you're too dedicated to one thing, like too dedicated
People
to
are too
work.
dedicated to just being productive all the time.
Yeah, that could be an addiction
Listen.
as well.
Do you reckon that like
Nah.
in Ali Abdal's case?
I think he's psychotic,
But
bro. He's got
productivity is
mental
subjective
issues.
as well. Like
Bro, this guy
productivity is
just learned the word subjective
no,
or
honestly
something,
though,
bro.
like, everything's subjective.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
I agree.
So
It
like
is.
productivity like is such a vague, broad term that has positive connotations. How can you say it's like the idea of an addiction is that it has to have negative
like
consequences?
watching
Yeah, but
anime
like
on,
if you're-
on 1.5 speed with subtitles on, so you can just have
Okay.
better conversations.
By
with people.
definition, productivity, a person who's a workaholic is productive because he's like putting the extra hours in and he's being productive. But at the same time,
No, but he's addicted to work, then not productivity.
I mean, yeah.
yeah, but he's being productive still.
Is he? Okay, in this context.
Yeah,
like,
if
okay.
he's working a lot, he's being
But he's not
productive.
addicted to productivity.
No, no,
he's
I'm not
addicted
saying.
to work.
Yeah, I'm saying that's what I'm saying. Productivity could be workaholic could be being productive, but it could be an addiction as well, right? That's
but
what I'm
the
saying.
productivity is a byproduct.
I'm not
of
saying
the-
that.
I think if you like, there is an element that productivity can be an addiction, but I think more so the addiction is lying in something else.
Yeah.
Like with productivity, maybe in Ali Abdal's case, I'm not saying this is true, but maybe his addiction is the following that he receives and the growingness of his, because he's like a medically trained doctor. Like he is supposed to and will go work as a doctor, but right now he's building himself as a content creator. And his productivity is what he's selling, but maybe his addiction is the continuous growth of his channel and his profile and stuff like that.
Have you guys had any addictions, do you think, over the years?
I think, yeah, for sure.
What would yours be?
Can't tell this on podcast.
I've been addicted to social
Yeah.
media like
Yeah.
quite easily.
Like I had a sugar
I've-
addiction when I was younger, which
What
was
does that entail?
like just being addicted to like having a lot
Well,
of sugar.
Like, yeah, explain like the addiction. Like what were the specific
Like I would
things?
just have sugar, like that would be
Withdrawal
my
symptoms.
diet.
That was
you
it.
can't- Yeah,
Yeah.
you'd be like a
Right.
junkie.
So,
Because like,
like,
in the last like 10 years of knowing you, you don't touch
Yeah,
sugar.
but it's partly why my stomach has the issues I have now. So
Yeah,
like my
right.
younger years was mostly spent being addicted to sugar. So that would be like consuming a lot of candy, chocolate, adding sugar to things that I probably shouldn't add. Like yogurt I would have with sugar, everything. Like
But
milk.
that's just
Is that
basic human
why-
nature. It's nothing
No, but like if you already have like issues with digesting food, potentially, my family has like a history of it. It had a negative effect because I was having a lot more than I should be. But then over the years, because I got to know that it was having a negative effect, I got rid of it. Yeah.
I think I want to do something exciting all the time. That's my addiction, if that's the word. Like I'm always down for something.
You know, impulsive people are the most likely to get addicted as well. And because you're impulsive, you might have the traits to be a person that gets addicted really easily.
That makes sense though, right?
There is actually genetic factors related to addiction.
Oh, massive.
Yeah,
massive.
I'm pretty sure it's half, like it's like 50% or something.
But you can't justify me trying to eat cocaine just because I was genetic factors though.
No, but it's genuinely a massive thing. If your lineage, like your family,
first off, you don't eat cocaine.
So this is a story, okay? So.
Oh right, okay.
I actually know this story.
You know this story.
We don't know what was cocaine or
All right,
not.
tell us.
No,
Go on.
Me, Abob, and some of our other friends went down Brooklyn, I think it was, for a lookout spot, 9 p.m. So
How
you
old
can't.
are you? How old are you?
I would have been like maybe
Teenager.
Silly boys doing silly.
Silly boys, yeah, I agree. Last stop before Brooklyn was Mount Cola 7-Eleven. We just stopped down there for ice creams, refreshments, and yada yada. I see a pouch on the floor. It was like a bag with white powder in it. One of my friends just picked it up. One of her friends, and I was like, let's keep it, because I don't want to like. It could be anything, and why just throw it away? So
Could be anything. Why throw it away?
Yeah, like could be something worthful. Like
you know how you go to the beach and see a seashell, like, oh yeah, memories. That's what he was
You
imagining.
can interpret that in two ways. It could be anything. Why throw it away? It could be anything. Why throw it away?
I think it was the latter for me. I'm like, we need to have this. Like, we can't just throw it out.
Yeah.
So we just picked it up and we went down to the Brooklyn pathway. It was like a winding road, and one of my friends like, we need to do something with this. I was like, I'll try this out.
Right.
For me, logically made sense to eat it rather than sniff it or anything else. I don't know why, but I ate the whole packet, and my tongue goes numb. I can't feel anything right now.
Yeah.
And one of my friends just like says it could be poison too.
I'm 100%.
For all we know, it was poison, bro. It was one of.
No, wait a second. So I looked up.
Was it a silica packet?
No, it wasn't a silica packet. But
it was a clear packet
with
it had something written on it.
Since then, I know what it was.
Yeah.
But back then, I had no idea what could it be. And I'm like, this is me being really particular Muslim. I didn't realize what potentially it could be.
Right.
Yeah.
And we don't have any internet either, because it's Brooklyn. It's middle of nowhere.
Right.
No internet. So I'm like, doing my last prayers. God forgive me. I can't breathe properly because
Hyperventilating.
Hyperventilating.
Yeah.
I can't breathe properly. My tongue's gone numb. And I feel like I could die any second.
Yeah.
Like I tried some water and it was going through my throat, but I couldn't process what was happening.
Yeah.
And I can't even like open the internet to see what's happening, and I was lost for a bit.
Yeah.
Then I went once whole situation kind of subsided, we went back up.
So you guys decided not to go to the hospital?
Obviously, I can't do that.
No, he didn't even
What do
tell
you mean,
me.
obviously, you can't.
I drove him. I didn't even know about this. He told me after the fact.
Because we had two set of cars, so
Yeah.
like these guys didn't realize what I
But
had.
still, like if you're at that point where you're praying to God, please.
The nearest
please.
hospital
No, the
was
thing
like
is, my
20
mouth
kilometers
wasn't
from us.
working, but my nose was working, so I could still breathe properly.
Yeah.
So
So yeah, at that point, you're like, nah, it's fine.
yeah, I knew I wasn't gonna die, because this took this took like 10 minutes to process.
Yo.
We were going downhill.
Yeah.
I couldn't breathe. Then eventually I started breathing properly.
You're asking an irrational person to think rationally.
Yeah, fair. I mean, 5 minutes ago you said you thought you were gonna die, and
No,
now
but
you think.
No, but thing is when we went down, because this was during the car ride,
Yeah.
so we had to go down, look out, and during that time I realized
don't
I'm
wanna
probably
ruin
gonna
the night,
survive.
Yeah,
Can't ruin the vibes.
I kind of back it.
So
I don't back like doing the entire pack, like putting it in your mouth, but like
I think it wasn't the whole thing, to be honest. Otherwise,
do you.
yeah. So like for me, it was just like I want to be doing something exciting, and I was like,
But you haven't had any impulse to do that kind of stuff again, ever.
like I didn't find any other bags, bro.
Okay.
Like we climbed up a whole.
all right, set one up around here next time on
find
the
one.
podcast. See what he
I'll
does.
find one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like based on what you're saying, like impulsive, I think that actually might be an addiction in itself too.
That's
So
the
do you
interesting
reckon
thing, though.
making addictions expensive is a good initiative? Like cigarettes, how expensive they
No, that
are?
doesn't make any sense at all.
Why?
Why?
Because
you make it expensive, people won't
you're-
buy it.
If you're
If you're
addicted,
addicted.
people will find ways to buy it.
Yeah,
No,
and
but
if not, they'll
that's
find
exactly what happens.
shittier alternatives. It's like you'll find a
Would
terrible substitute good.
Like
Yeah.
New Zealand's banned
Like
cigarettes
watered
right
down
now
shit.
for anyone under 18.
Yeah,
So eventually, there will be
Well, I mean,
literally this generation
it will
can't.
combat it in some level, but
now
Sorry,
people
anyone
replace
under
it with,
age
like,
of 40, I think it was.
Yeah.
people
So
will
the
replace
next
it with
generation
vapes
can't
or
have
with
it. Yeah.
anything else. Like it's
No, but like if you ban all these things, then why not just cigarettes? If you ban vaping,
yeah, but then there'll be counterfeit, like illegal.
yeah, exactly.
you
so
make
like,
it as hard as possible to.
I disagree because 1920s prohibition occurred in America. That's where they completely banned alcohol.
Ooh, yes,
right?
I remember this.
And alcohol consumption went up tenfold. It was more than ever because people were like, if we're not getting it legally, we're going to get it illegally. And because illegally became such a good market, everyone got so much of it. So that they had to actually overturn the prohibition because people were drinking too much.
And then because of that, you're putting more people in jail and screwing
Exactly.
up.
But
And you're also
I think
giving
alcohol
people-
is different to cigarettes, though, because alcohol is considered a social drug. Cigarettes is just a retarded thing.
I think cigarettes are very much considered
Cigarettes
a
social,
social drug
as
too.
well.
Yeah.
Come on, bro. Go
no,
get
but
a
like
smoker,
alcohol can
come
be
on.
like a fashionable thing. You have it at weddings. You can have it on your 21st, whatever,
Right.
family dinner. Like but you don't
Cigarettes
have
are changing. Cigarettes were very fashionable. They are still
What do you
fashionable.
think's
but not-
work? Why do you think cigarette usage has gone down? Because they've made it more expensive. Because they've made it hard
It's been
for
the
people to
marketing
get.
and stuff.
I think more
It's
information
education
about
and
how bad it
marketing.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you do.
I don't think
I don't think
that's the part.
it's so much surprise.
Hammy, like I think most people have stopped down because they can't afford it as much.
I mean, that is a factor.
Yeah.
But like that, like
No, but
like
then they'll
we-
just go
our
to
whole-
vapes, for example.
our whole generation was taught so differently on
Yeah.
the effects of cigarettes compared to the generations before us.
Do you think the same will happen with alcohol?
No,
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 probably
because
not.
we don't really get taught of these really
No,
negative
like
Alcohol isn't
like
seen
it happened with
negatively.
cigarettes. Do you think the same would happen
Alcohol
with alcohol?
isn't seen negatively.
I think
it's not
alcohol is
marketed
ingrained in
negatively.
wild culture too much.
But
to
also, we don't
take
really
it out.
have crazy long-term effects of alcohol usage unless you're like
I
a.
agree with Abob in this instance. So, like, I've seen not many people drink as much as previous generations. Like,
No, but alcohol has a serious effect on society as well.
Massive.
I don't know whether
Massive.
prohibition of it would make it better or worse, but like the
but if you
money
see
we
new
lose-
generation, like right now, I have a lot of colleagues, and many of them do not drink alcohol compared
Yeah.
to the guys that are like 3 years older.
100%.
So,
Yeah. I'm seeing it's quite interesting because growing up, in the circles that we did, no one drank because of how we were brought up. And then you go out and you assume that because how we were brought up, everyone else drinks. And then I go out and I see like a lot of people who are like Anglo or like just born and raised here, from like white families or whatever. Then they the ones who decide not to drink, and I'm always like, oh, like it takes me like I have
a
to
while to
double
process.
take.
Like for us, we
Yeah,
got a
so I'm
reason
like,
to.
wait, whoa, why aren't you drinking? And they're like, oh, I don't want to drink. Oh, I don't drink. I'm like, wait, why? Why don't you drink?
The thing is, it can also be a touchy subject because some people don't drink because their family has a history of alcohol. Someone in
Yeah.
their family has an history
Yeah.
of alcoholism or something.
Yeah.
So they have a genetic, or they might have a tendency to be addicted to
I
alcohol.
think the best way to outlaw would be to make it uncool.
How do you make it uncool?
Like, bro, vapes. I think I had a thing for vapes for 2 months.
I know, I remember.
But then I used to see in Syria, people used to take the mask off, have a smoke, put the mask back up, and they look just off, bro. Like, you know, like normal people
So
just
that
take
made it
masks
uncool
off.
for you.
And I realized I was
alcohol
same.
to
Yeah.
nerds
Can't be the
is what you're
same.
doing.
So I just literally after seeing someone like this, I was like, I'm not gonna buy this again.
Well, I mean, I kind of agree. A lot of the people, with cigarettes at least, I remember when I was growing up, I was like, why do people get into smoking? Like, how do they get into smoking? It's usually just a social thing.
Yeah.
It's never like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm doing it because I've had a long day or like it's
Yeah.
going to help me.
They do
Because
it because
a cigarette won't ever have a massive effect on you. Like, if
no, it
you,
does though.
No, not a massive effect. Like, if you've had a
mean a
bad day or
Soul
whatever, you can
cigarette?
get
Yeah, yeah.
Or even like a pack of cigarettes, it won't have a massive effect on you. As opposed to like, if you had hard alcohol in front of you and you drank a bit of it, you'd be genuinely
Oh,
in a
right.
different
Okay,
state
sure.
within a few hours. With cigarettes, you won't get to that. So that because there isn't that massive difference within one sitting of
It
consuming.
doesn't
There's no-
intoxicate you the same
Exactly,
amount.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
then for me, it was like, why would anyone ever like? How does anyone ever get into it? And I guess the only thing that I've been able to theorize so far is just it's been a
Looks
social
cool,
thing,
yeah.
and then
Looks
eventually
cool.
they
Yeah.
get addicted.
yeah, it's
They
always
picture
like
themselves as Arthur Shelby.
they do it
or
with their friends or
Thomas
they're trying
Shelby.
to act cool or something. It's
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
that's why the cool kids are the ones that are smoking at the back of school.
You know, in Pakistan they do gutka.
Yep.
that?
Yeah, gutka has like tobacco in it, and then it's mixed with other like chemicals and whatever, and it's got like sweeteners and stuff in it. So
Yeah.
it's a thing that like, you know how you chew tobacco in America or like over here, you just keep it on the corner of your mouth, you constantly chew it, and that's when you get the nicotine from it. Same thing with gutka, they keep it in the mouth, but they disassociate it with smoking in Pakistan because it's a highly religious or whatever country. Alcohol, cigarettes, if they see you doing it, they like have a fit.
Yeah,
But if they see you doing gutka, which has the same nicotine in it,
yeah.
but because it's part of the culture, they're
Yeah.
just like, oh yeah, that's gutka.
Yeah.
It's different. Like it's
I mean,
not the same.
You'll see the same with like shisha as well.
I think even
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
even
Arabs, like if you drink, well, not Arabs love the alcohol, but like if you compare like if you say like, oh, I have what's it called, I smoke cigarettes, they would freak out. But if you say we do shisha, they're like, oh yeah, it's part of the
Shisha's
culture.
like normal. Yeah. Shisha's everywhere.
Yeah. Cigarettes they treated like.
A lot of Arabs will argue that cigarettes aren't. Shisha isn't actually bad for you.
Yeah, I mean, but people argue that nothing's bad for you, and I mean, I'd argue that alcohol and very like.
But bad is subjective.
One I wanted to talk about, and I think it's more taboo to talk about. The biggest addiction I feel people have is porn addiction.
Massive.
Yeah,
massive.
And then it's still taboo to talk about because whatever, like culturally, it's like seen down upon, whatever the case is. But do you think porn addiction is like far worse than it's made out to be?
I think it's the worst thing ever.
It's the worst thing ever.
It's pretty rampant. Like if you talk to any like high school boys, like
girls as well now, bro. I've heard.
Really?
Yeah, like it's rampant in like teenagers in general. Like
not just teenagers.
Well, like kids,
everyone.
Yeah, kids,
everyone,
older people, everything.
I mean, like everyone.
But no, I mean, it's so much more. People are so much more open about it in teens. I feel.
I think in teenagers, their hormones are racing the most, and that's point they're really exploratory with their sexuality. And also, when you don't have really good sex ed, then your first thing is just to kind of do things yourself, figure it out yourself. And i.e., online content, you'll find pornography everywhere. Yeah. Like everything's sexualized. Pornography is one of the biggest industries in the world. Like porn is out. You can get it
like
very easily.
Yesterday, I was finding a UFC stream.
Yeah.
Literally every single ad was full porn. And I had it casting on like the whole TV situation. So I was concerned like my friend's wife doesn't come in. So I'm not getting ready.
No. And then there was this ad and then someone was like, why not? I can't just leave it there.
Yeah. Did he click it?
Quick one.
Porn addiction has the same effect on your brain like as alcohol and like drug addiction does.
Are you a neuroscientist or?
Yeah, I do my research, bro. Okay. So like your brain, the impact it has on your brain is the same as you're like on hardcore drugs like heroin or like you have a severe alcohol issue as well.
And it's one of those things that also, because like with alcohol and drugs and stuff like that, they don't really have a direct link to our everyday life. Whereas with porn, a big factor of porn is how we perceive people that we're attracted to, the gender that we're attracted to, or whatever you're attracted to, and also how you interact with people in social settings. That's the biggest
issue, I think.
Yeah, and it can really.
I think we need to
relationships.
Get a proper female category going on, because it can cater to everything, man.
I don't think you understand what everything is. There's a lot more than just she-male.
No, I think females are like the perfect gender.
You know what? Same joke.
Okay, wait. I want to let him hear. You said
it's best of both worlds.
Females are the perfect gender.
I agree.
Because you know what he thinks? He thinks they have both genitals. That's what he thinks.
No, bro. What do you mean?
They don't have both genitals.
Yeah, this is what he thinks. He thinks they have like a combination of both, a vagina and a penis. That's what it is.
Bro, it's a family podcast, man. Come on.
You said you took cocaine, bro. Okay, so don't give me this.
No, I ate it, so I wasn't high.
Yeah.
But anyways, the point is, the thing is, like, it's one of those things that's so taboo, especially growing up. Yeah. Everyone's involved, and by not addressing it at all, we just let it go. Like everyone does it, but no one talks about it. Like if we acknowledge everyone does it, only then can we realize this is an issue.
Yeah.
I want to say everyone does it, but like, yeah.
Bro, come on, bro. I've seen your work wheels, man. I've seen your work wheels, man.
I want like the thing is like, did you guys have like growing up like any friend in high school or like cousins or whatever that were like severely addicted to it?
I never really talked to anyone about it in school though.
Oh yeah, we had this one kid, okay, bro. His was like,
of course,
his situation was hella bad. He would openly masturbate in the back of the bus.
Oh shit!
This is when the iPod had just come out, the video iPod. Damn. He would have videos on it, and everyone knew he was doing something.
That's mental.
And we would just choose to ignore it.
But like at that point, that's such a serious issue
that we need to shake hands with them.
No, but what I mean though is like it's funny as kids, because as kids everything's funny. You never really understand the gravity of the situation. But for him, to the fact that he couldn't even control being in a public situation is mental, and like you could only hope and pray that none of you get to an addiction level.
I don't think
anything
it's a control thing. It's mostly like a voyeuristic thing, because you can't.
A what?
Voyeuristic, like, like he wanted to expose himself or something. Because not like you can't be that horny to like just.
No, but this kid you don't understand how addiction works. It genuinely, you lose so much control of so many things in your life where you're like craving that slight dopamine rush that you're going to get from it, so much so that you will lose all inhibition about everything else. Like, you'll be in a public bus and you will have to do
I can't like shit.
Yeah.
Gets me going.
So his issue was, so like, some of the teachers knew about it as well. They would like try to like question him about it, whatever the case was, but he would just like, no one could control it. Like, they couldn't kick him out of school because I think there was like some restrictions or whatever. But we had like a social counselor or whatever take him in, and it's like his like shorts would be always stained with you know what, and then like none of us like,
what a trooper, bro.
yeah, we always like avoided like shaking hands with him and stuff for that reason as well.
Bro, this makes it worse, bro.
What?
They're making him.
You shake hands with him then, bro.
I'll shake
okay.
hands.
Okay. In year 10, then he left, right? Year 10, he moved on.
Yeah.
But then that's when we realized, bro, like we were hanging out with him and none of us did anything about it. Like none of us like questioned him.
Enablers,
Like,
bro.
he did
Enablers.
it by himself, man. Come on, bro.
Not nice.
Well,
bro.
I wasn't
no.
saying we help him out, but then at the same time,
you guys could have helped him
yourself
out.
You
up.
enabled the behavior.
yeah, like he would come up to
No,
us
they
and
didn't
then,
enable shit, bro. They didn't help him out, man.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of friends are these?
yeah,
Exactly.
at the same time, he would come up to us and
Like,
then
what if
he
his
would
arm's tired, bro?
Come
You
on,
gotta
bro.
help him out a little bit.
give him an automatic thing, bro. Like, yeah, whatever the case was. But like, yeah. Anyway, I'm sick, bro. Don't make me laugh. Anyway, so he would approach us and be like, you know, like, oh, I watched this video. I think
Yeah.
you should watch it. But like, bro, we're not interested in this.
That's
stuff.
so interesting, though. I love how he had to share it to you.
Yeah,
Like,
he-
if I watch a good YouTube video, I'll show it to you.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the same.
It's the same thing
Maybe
with
it's
him.
the same. Where I'm
Yeah.
like, boys, watch
So,
this.
Have I told you about the guy that did it right next to me in a plane?
nah, go on.
In a
my
plane.
Bro, it was
Bro,
so rough.
You're
This was-
pretty, but not that pretty.
okay. I don't know why these situations happen to me.
Like,
I don't know why these situations
They're
happen
always
to me.
around you.
Yeah, I don't know why it's
Something's
happening
going
to
on.
me. I was
I think he's telling personal stories. But
No,
yeah,
it wasn't.
right.
You know what it is?
Yeah,
It's framing you.
of course.
Just
What
like
a
the other
man.
guy who has the email at work.
Yeah.
My
Shut up.
cousin,
It
my
was
cousin.
you.
I was 14 at the time. Okay, I was flying back from Karachi to Hong Kong to Sydney.
And then
Right.
you saw a pretty lady, and you were like,
No, so this guy was sitting next to me, and you know how like the monitor comes out from the
from the side.
seat. So I was sitting in window seat, and my screen was on this side, and his is like popping up from this side.
Yeah.
So you had it tilted
Sorry,
away
your
from
screen
me.
was on your right side.
Yeah, and his was.
He
on
had
his
tilting
left.
away from you, but facing everyone else.
Yeah. Okay. This guy was a trooper.
I'm
As you
telling
guys
you, bro,
say,
it's
whatever.
a pretty face. There's
And
no
then-
other reason.
And then I did like I was 14, so,
So
I
what
didn't.
would
I
be the best
wasn't.
configuration like for the screen? Like,
Surely face towards the window so no one on
Only
the plane
one person.
sees.
Only the
Yeah.
14-year-old kid
Only
sees
the
it.
14-year-old
Yeah.
kid sees it.
Anyway,
Which,
so-
I mean, is
to be honest,
fucked up
he
as
is a
well.
moralistic guy.
Would that be
too.
a felony?
Probably.
Yeah, maybe he figured out that like I
man,
shouldn't
he
be
was
showing
a
this to the
guy
kid.
of high value, bro.
Yeah.
But like,
can't
regardless,
let him have a
all of that
minor-
is a felony, no
Okay.
matter where it is.
Anyway,
Bro.
there was a woman at the aisle side. Okay.
Right.
She complained to the air hostess that this guy is watching. Or he was watching some movie, but he was getting turned on by it, whatever
Right.
the case was. And then he had a.
But if it's broadcasted by by
What do you mean?
airline,
Yeah.
then like
No. It doesn't like. They obviously it's a movie. There's gonna
No,
be
it-
some sort of scene in it.
He's-
he doesn't
he's
have to
getting
perform an
turned,
act
like,
on
he's
it.
acting.
But like his body, bro, like shit.
Nah,
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
No.
Yeah. Like so, he had like a what do you call-
situation going on.
He had one of those like the blankets that they give on him.
Yeah.
And then there was
movement.
movement happening under it.
Right.
So the woman complained, they come. So he was still in the process, okay? So they come,
What do you
they're
mean movement? As in,
What do you
Yeah, can you-
think?
up and down movement was happening, bro. What do you want
for
me
me,
to
it was
say?
just like
Hey,
natural
like
growth,
up and
bro.
down
I'm
like this, like what are
can't
we
blame
talking
him.
about? Like,
You got it, bro. You got it. Yeah, that was what's happening.
Your jokes
Okay.
are so bad today.
Yeah. No, it's
Bro, it's a
always
family
bad. It's
podcast,
always
come
bad.
on, yo.
It's always bad. Anyway, so he was doing that, and like the woman approached the air hostess and says like, you know, so we've had a complaint about you. Can you come with us?
Yeah.
And then obviously
Come with us.
Yeah. Anyway, he couldn't just get up because the situation was still going on, right?
Yeah.
So they like put his thing away, the
TV you're in.
the TV away,
Yeah.
yes. And then they said, okay, can you just come with the thing wrapped around you?
Yeah.
So they followed him, and then I didn't see him after the flight. Okay.
Interesting.
Then they
That's a
come up
shame.
to me and the woman, and they apologized.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you shouldn't have. And to that point, I didn't know
You didn't
what was
even know what was
happening and
happening,
what was
yeah.
happening. And then the air hostess.
And then Abob's cousin found a video of the same guy online.
wait, actually,
Bro, he's rubbed onto you on you as well. Like you're giving terrible jokes as well. Then they apologized to me and said, "Yeah." They were like, "That shouldn't have happened." The guy was being, you know,
Yeah, like
and then I was like, "Oh." Then I
Not
figured
nice,
out this is
bro.
what happened.
You should help him out, bro.
What? I'm not helping anyone out, bro.
Anyway, so what happened to this guy, bro?
I don't know. He got in trouble or whatever. Like, I don't know if it's a felony to do
Bro,
that.
I respect him. He draws the line at kids.
Man of high volume.
Man of our- Anyway, we were talking about addictions. We've kind of
We've
devolved.
literally just gone
We're kind
so
of
far.
devolved in this podcast. Anyway, did you want to talk about anything else? I think we've given people a good 40 minutes.
47, actually.
47. Yeah, I'll cut it down. Doesn't matter. But yeah, anything else you want to talk about?
Well, I mean, like,
What is the what is the solution for addictions? Do you think?
I think I don't know yet because I don't think it's something that you can 100% cure. I don't think addiction is something you cure. It's something you just kind of like.
I think you got to
I
address
I think
this
there's
first, though.
different treatments.
There's treatments, but like
Because we don't address the porn situation. Pakistan, in Muslim countries, are generally the highest consumer of porn.
oh, it's
Yeah.
massive. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But like all conservative countries, like developing nations, are some of the highest consumers of porn.
So we got to realize there is an issue,
yeah,
and like it's not an issue so solvable by going to prayers and stuff.
yeah.
But like you're not actively telling what harm does it do, like from a dopamine point of view.
Yeah, but that's like you're talking about like from a holistic, like for an individual, you need to be aware of like what triggers you into going into these things.
Yeah.
So if you're like, you know, you're going down the alcohol path, if you're like using alcohol to like numb yourself or whatever the case is, you need to know what leads you to that.
Yeah.
If you're going to porn constantly, you need to know what are the things that are triggering
See, I think
you.
alcohol
Is
is
it?
not as bad as porn because like porn is easily accessible.
Yeah, that's true. Porn is
Alcohol,
far worse.
like
Yeah.
it's a social. It's not a social thing.
Yeah, you can't be doing it in
Yeah.
bars and stuff. Yeah.
So
Or maybe you can.
No,
you
but
never
it's a
know.
socially acceptable thing.
what?
I look. I think it's harder to define what's worse than another. I think
Yeah.
each
Oh,
person
yeah,
will have
yeah.
a.
It
quite
depends
different
on the
experience
person.
with-
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen the movie Requiem of a Dream?
No.
It's a movie got Jennifer Connelly in it, Jared Leto,
That doesn't help
Marlon
me anymore.
Wayans. Okay,
No, no.
you
We already
if you
said
want
no.
if you want to watch it, you can. If you want to watch it, you can. It's about like 4 people who go through heroin addiction,
Yeah.
and if you watch that movie, it kind of is shot in a way that it makes you feel like you're on heroin watching it.
That's
So like
interesting.
the way they shot it and everything, and then that leads to a very bad conclusion for all characters. But it shows like what are the things that trigger them into going into heroin, and it's a good way of showing like how people get triggered into getting or like how people get into these things,
Yeah.
and even if they want to get off, what are the things that bring them back to these things. So like if you're
Can you give
someone-
a summary of what brings people back into heroin addiction?
like it could be like they are looking to like get back on track with things, but they have one negative day, and just to feel like, you know, they have to combat that negative day and get a dopamine
It's
hit,
the dopamine.
Yeah, all
they
it
go
takes
back
is,
to those
all
things.
it takes
So,
is
yeah.
a moment of weakness.
Yeah.
And that moment of weakness is so easy to come by
Yeah.
because, like, it's genuinely just the lack thereof of that dopamine rush, right? You
Yeah.
need that increase of that dopamine and that serotonin. And if you're not getting that, which could be in anything, you could be like in traffic and you're just having a shit day. You could be like, oh, a meeting got pushed back a couple hours and you're like, oh, I was
Yeah,
expecting
exactly. Those
Yeah.
things, yeah.
someone came late to like a party, whatever, anything. Those things. could-
Someone came late to a party.
No,
seems
what I mean
very
is
personal.
that like it could be something as insignificant as that, where it just triggers negative things. Therefore,
Yeah.
after.
Isn't that how they actually overdose though? They have their threshold for when they get that dopamine hit is 100 grams of cocaine. I don't know.
Yeah.
Grams, 200 grams of
That's-
cocaine, 300 grams of cocaine.
Okay, 1 gram is
Whatever, bro.
Jesus
This is
Christ.
hypothetical.
Well, 300 grams
And
is
then-
like $2 million
would-
street
you
value.
also
bro.
kill yourself
Yeah.
way before.
And then and then they like come off it for a bit, and then they'll relapse like a month later or something, and their threshold is not 300
Yeah,
grams
yeah.
anymore.
It's hard.
But they'll still take that because that's what
Yeah.
they used to,
Yeah, yeah.
300 grams.
I
and
think
then they'll
coffee can be one
overdose.
of those things then.
Yeah.
Yeah, coffee.
You
is
can
like
100% have an addiction to caffeine.
How do you
But
think some people have?
I
Like
think I
6
was
coffees a
addicted to
day?
coffee until Ramadan came through,
Yeah.
and I didn't have a single coffee whole month.
But then you weren't addicted.
But
Addiction
thing
will
is-
be harder to combat. It's not saying that you
No,
didn't have an
but-
issue with it or like you were struggling with it.
I drink coffee 3 times a day
Right.
in 4 hours. I wouldn't have coffee anytime after 1 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
But from 4 till 1 o'clock, I would have had 4 coffees, 5 coffees already.
Yeah, well then maybe.
And during Ramadan, I had zero coffee because I couldn't physically do it.
yeah.
And they made me realize like how important fasting, not from Islamic point of view, from like just
A health point of view.
health point of view is.
Well, it's massive because fasting also kind of gives you that opportunity to rid yourself from a lot of other things that you might do, and not necessarily negative things. I'm saying just things that, because it disrupts like kind of your day-to-day life, right? Like with content
Yeah.
that I was watching, it was so much harder to do it because I was somewhat not irritable, but I didn't have like the energy to do a lot of things. And if I was, I needed to keep my mind on doing something else in Ramadan, right? If I'm fasting, I want to be like, all right, do something physical so you're not hungry. Otherwise, you're gonna be when you're like sitting down, you end up just sitting there and wanting to snack or wanting to eat. And I get so much hungry at that point. Whereas if I'm out in the garden gardening, or if I'm out playing sport, sure, I might be exhausting myself, but I don't even think of food at that point. And that's really good because that kind of gives you that clarity and that release from it.
Anyway, let's end on this point. What you were saying is correct. Once, to
nice
get,
one, bro. Nice one.
to get like to get the same amount of hit
What
the
point
next
was it?
time from a drug or whatever you're doing, an activity, you need to consume more of it. So like people watch far vulgar porn to get the same hit,
Right?
or like they consume more and more
And that's
alcohol.
how furries are born.
Yeah,
Well, you'll see a lot of people getting those issues, and you'll see that with everything though. Like,
that's how you get to bestiality, bro.
That's one interesting thing about that is that, like, I don't know with the YouTube thing. Is there something specifically in my case? Is there something that I'm watching extra on YouTube that I'm like, oh, this is becoming more like it's not vulgarity that would be the issue. It's more like
It's time wasting or whatever.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Like I watch everything. I watch short form content. I watch long form content. I watch food, cooking, everything like
I
that.
guess there's nothing inherently bad with YouTube. I don't think it can get like, as in, you're not watching something that's worse in whatever sense it is. Like,
If you're like taking time away from your work and then you're
that's
not,
what
yeah,
the concept
That
is.
100%.
Yeah.
And you'll find those consequences in life. You'll find those things like, I mean, I can't even lie. There will be days that I would watch an NBA game.
I've sent this to your employer.
Shut up.
Anyway, not to incriminate yourself any further.
No, yeah.
Thank you for being on, bro. Thank you for
having me.
sharing your
Appreciate it.
addictions with
It's
us.
facts.
Your facts.
Hammy facts.
Anyway, what did we want to share? Are you watching our podcast, by the way? Is this your YouTube binge like? Is that
Why are you looking at the camera?
Anyway, he isn't watching it.
I've watched the shorts.
Okay. Anyway, you might watch this one. Anyway, you guys can follow us on our Instagram and our TikTok, and you can watch this on YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. Thank you, Hammy, once again. We'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
Appreciate it.